All right, let's see
I'm
here.
still dicking around here trying to figure out how to mirror my image real fast for my
Oh yeah,
background.
dude, bro, your shit looks awesome, man. You got your background, you got your friggin' your you're wearing your like what is that? It looks badass, okay?
It's my Mandalorian kit.
Yes. I love it. Dude, I was so excited to get you on here. Oh my god. It's
I'm
awesome.
excited to be on it, man.
Hell yeah, dude. You look great. Welcome.
I feel welcomed.
Yeah, Galactic Civil War, Battlefront, something something.
Yeah, that's our next event coming up in November. Battlefront Boulevard.
Yeah. I want to hear all about this shit, okay?
Wait, does that
But
look normal to you, or does that look mirrored?
no, I'm seeing it normal. Like I'm seeing it all the words are not backwards.
Oh shit! Well, then I'm not going to change that.
Yeah, yeah. See, this is I wish it's a really common thing. I wish they had a better way to see like where you could see what I'm seeing. Basically, it should be that way. But this is a real common thing when I have people on and they're looking behind them and they see that they're like, oh, let me switch it, let me flip it, and I'm like, no, you don't need to flip it. We can see like it looks perfect. And
Interesting.
yeah, isn't that weird? It's strange, but oh shit, dude! I saw on your Instagram or maybe your YouTube the that right there where you were building it, and then is it like a launcher? Oh shit! Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, the milsimmers don't really know what to do with that one. I get audited a lot when they're like, "Where's your knife, man? You just knife killed me. Where is it? It was right here, and now it's not. So deal with it."
Did you build that yourself?
A lot of it is pieced together.
Yeah,
A lot of it is 3D printed parts, and
gotcha.
there's a lot of
Okay,
like Frankensteining going on for the kit. So
right. Okay. I mean, that's what it takes, you know? Like, I mean, the cosplayers do that. That's pretty much what they do, you know? But the thing is, like your stuff, like that's actually functional for on the field, which is cool as shit.
yeah, let me swap my mic over to non-push to talk real fast.
Oh yeah, dude, that would be annoying. Hell yeah. You and I met fairly recently. Um, I can't remember honestly. I've been following your. I mean, I looked at your Instagram this past week,
Yeah.
um, and was just blown away with all the cool stuff you have. So, give a background on yourself and kind of how you got into airsoft, and then I want to hear about this your background there, like what you know your event that you have going on, and
Yes.
how you got into all this cosplay gear and
Yeah.
yeah,
I will. I'll run through kind of the origin story of me as an airsofter and me as a player. So I probably got into airsoft a little over 2 decades ago, when I was pretty young, 16 or whatever.
yeah,
So put that wherever you want for my age. But as far as continual play and everything like that, I like most airsofters, you come and go from the hobby. Um, there are very few that are committed 24/7 every single weekend, that kind of stuff. So there was times where I maybe only got up maybe once or twice a year. There were other times where, it might have been a year or two in between when I actually played. But for me, I was probably on a 2 year hiatus, had just moved, was working a new job in a new area, and I was living at the time with my wife, and it was peak pandemic period. So, uh, not a lot to do, not a lot of places to go, but airsoft fields were still going.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, the Mandalorian series came out, and I was like, you know what? You know, it would be
Right.
fun. You know, it would be stupid. You know, it would probably cost a lot of money, but I probably only have one opportunity to do something like this. It's right now, because not only do you have time to work on a kit and build a kit and learn new skills, that really gave me the gung ho when the Mandalorian series was rolling on. I'm like, I want to build a Mandalorian airsoft kit.
Yeah.
And the main concept behind building the kit is I wanted it to be functional and usable. I didn't want you see people go out wearing cosplay or doing Halloween events or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's fun, it's for the theme of the thing, but stuff doesn't really do stuff. So I was like, well,
Mm-hmm.
I want basically every part of my kit to have a purpose. Like if I'm going to be wearing bulky gauntlets, like they're going to have to do something. So whether it is like having a uh, shotgun shell launcher on one of the van braces as one of your emergency backups, or GoPro remote, or your comms push to talk button that is Bluetoothed into your helmet.
Oh my
Um,
God.
like all of it I wanted to make work. So that was my first goal, was just making the Mandalorian kit and have it be functional. The armor itself really doesn't do anything in airsoft. It's still one BB is going to kill you.
Yeah.
But the thing you learn pretty quick when you are wearing armor is it's actually very easy to tell when you're getting hit, because opposed to getting like shot in a plate carrier that can muffle the sound or
Oh, right.
maybe get caught on clothes, like when you get hit in a plate, it resonates, it makes a loud noise, and your whole chest vibrates. So yep,
Okay.
I'm hit. So the deal with like, oh, you can't even feel your hits in that thing. It's like, yeah, I can feel the hits actually probably better than somebody wearing a baggy sweatshirt
Uh-huh.
can. So that's one thing that I really liked doing when I was wearing the armor, and I figured out pretty quickly is it's a really easy way to tell when you're getting shot. I didn't mind getting shot. Like I said, I played for 20 some years of airsoft, so I've
Right.
gone everywhere from the scale of the ghillie sniper to as lightweight loadouts as possible, and now I'm just
Mm.
kind of doing the fun Mandalorian loadout. I mean, the other part of this kit is the bulkier side, which is a 40 millimeter launcher that
That's
has,
what I saw. Okay.
yeah, and this, let me tell you, there's nothing more fun than literally launching rockets off of your
Oh my
wrist.
God, for real?
Yeah, that's launching
That's
tag-ins
epic,
wherever I
man.
can still get a hold of. So um, that
God almighty.
it's
That's
stupid,
craziness.
but it's really fun.
Oh,
It's
it's
fun
gotta be
coming
fun
up
as
with all
shit.
these projects. So
Now, when you
um,
go, that kind of setup with both your gauntlets there, and I didn't even know the other one. You've got, so the other one, the first one you showed us it's got the knife,
it's
it's
got
got
the quick
the
deploy
melee weapon.
knife that is
Yep.
connected with the little tether skirt string here. So all you have to do is bend your wrist really far down, and that will deploy out and out for you. So if you ever need to do a quick knife kill, you don't have
Yeah.
to reach for anything or pull anything out. It's literally right there. It has the GoPro remote, so I usually run with. I don't have it up here with me, but I have a droid that's attached to my backplate, and he's got a little extendo neck, and that is my 360 cam.
Oh my
So
God.
his head on there is the
That's so
360 cam, and he's got a little battery backup built into his body. So that way, I really only have to change or charge up the battery once, plug him in, and then he's good for a milsim event instead of having to
right.
change out your GoPro battery every 2 hours or whatever. Um, he's functional in that capacity, but then he's got the 360, so I just change my view of what is it recording and what is it looking at, and giving that kind of third person recording ability when I'm doing YouTube videos. The other one is either mounted onto my helmet if I'm using my tactical Mandalorian helmet, or maybe
Yeah.
on my weapon a different way. So all I have to do is hit the one GoPro remote, and both of them will start recording simultaneously.
Oh shit, that's awesome. Okay.
So yeah, then it also has the shotgun shell launcher. So on my chest here, my bandolier has the additional CO2 shotgun APS shells, the smart
Mm-hmm.
shells. That's really fun. It's like a last ditch kind of deal, or maybe I'm using a sniper rifle or an LMG or a minigun that I can't use in close range, I have a quick option to switch to engage targets that are either under the 50 foot minimum or 100. Yeah. So yeah.
So how do you fire that? You have to hit the back?
Yeah, this one here, the shotgun shell launcher just is a Shogun's launcher. So if you've ever seen those cheaper mini pistol launchers, it's like, it looks like that. So I just cut off the base part of it and then mounted on the inside of the gauntlet. I did end up adding a additional barrel length, so it gives it about effective range of about 100 feet in tighter groupings, opposed to just a little party popper that only shoots like 20 feet or so. So that makes it a lot more accurate, and I can use it at a longer distance. But
right.
I cut down maybe like a broom handle or something that had the same diameter of the shell wadding that I needed to get to pass through there, and it ended up working up perfectly. So that's the little shotgun shell launcher there. But then there's also the push to talk button for my comm setup. So I have a Bluetooth integration on my Biofang radio, and that is linked to my headset that is in my helmet. So I've built in hearing protection and hearing amplification into both of the helmets that I use, so I can, be effective. Because one of the things when you're putting on like a bucket, whether it is a combat helmet, usually you have your ears exposed. But when you go to enough milsim events when there is EG67s going off every 3 seconds, you want something else that maybe can protect your hearing a little bit better too. Right. So I ended up cutting down some Walkers XLs and fitting them into the bucket, gutting out all the electronics and mounting the microphones on the external part of the helmet. But I mean, all that stuff is kind of what I showcase on my YouTube channel. I've got a few like how I did it, or like I stumbled my way through this process and this is what it looks like on the inside. Just to kind of help players who are trying to do a similar thing stab their way through it.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, so were you like growing up and everything, were you kind of always into like tinkering with stuff?
Yeah, I would say that's always been something that I've kind of done. But really it wasn't until like three years ago that I really started to open stuff that I shouldn't and like and start messing around with it. Learning how to like properly solder a circuit board and stuff like that. I would say properly. It's not proper, it's just messing around with soldering iron and some solder and seeing if I could figure it out. And you open up enough things that you're not supposed to open up and see how they work and how they're wired, that you start seeing patterns and, okay, this is where this one is supposed to go, or power comes in on this one here.
Right.
So you start kind of doing that enough and you start opening enough things, and maybe with Airsoft it was kind of working on gearboxes, so you kind of messed around with soldering, like resoldering a motor or resoldering something,
running wire somewhere else or whatever.
Yeah. So for me, it was taking that direction and stabbing that direction and continuing, like I keep saying, opening things you probably shouldn't open to see how they work, or see how I could repurpose it, or how to Frankenstein it. Like a lot of the stuff I have are Frankenstein. So I was just poking around to my arm here. So this is what I usually use as like my backup light if I'm just navigating in a room or something where I don't want it like mounted on my weapon.
Yeah.
Because if I switch to a pistol or whatever, maybe I just want to have some ambient light as I'm like searching a room or something.
Cool. Yeah.
Different settings. And then, the dead light built into the shoulder there. And like, this is just one of those, the head strap LED lights. You probably see plenty of commercials for like, use this while you're working on your car. You can see a lot of stuff. And
I have one. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just that Frankenstein.
Oh,
and then just like the spotlight there.
And then the spotlight.
And then it does have that like that setting. So like when I got my helmet on, it's like hands free. So with this, where I have it mounted, if I angle my head at the right thing, I don't even need to use my arms to activate it. Like if I'm going through a hallway and I'm like, okay, I need to turn on a light, I can turn on a light just by cranking up my head. And when I got my bucket on, it's a little bit further out, so it picks on it, so I don't got chicken wing as far. But
Right.
you still sometimes might set it off if you're walking too close to like a door frame or whatever. But still,
Right.
having the ability to do a hands free, like certain situations, is pretty fun.
Dude, that's cool as shit. I have I have it exact same head strap that I used for work for a long time, and it just charges up, and yeah, thing's great for. It's pretty bright, actually.
Yeah.
The white light part of it is pretty bright, so that's cool as hell, man. So you've got some blinking lights on your chest thing too. What is that?
Yeah, so that's just from Star Wars. That's like the little status light that the Mandalorian or probably Boba Fett was the first one that you really saw utilizing. But in night games or whatever, you can turn it on as part of your kill light, or just in like our airsoft events we do. It's just on and ambient and looking cool, like a little sci-fi thing. But that's just battery powered on the other side of the chest, routed through here, and little lights there. So if I want to turn it off, I can just flip it off on this side of the chest, cool, just by reaching here.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
awesome.
that's like the kit. And I mean, this wasn't the first iteration. I mean, if you go back to my Instagram or some of my other ones, you can kind of see how the kit has evolved over the years to what it is now. From just like a flat gray kind of milsim or tactical Mandalorian kit to something that has a little bit more like film kind of look to it. This still is built onto like a plate carrier and everything, so it's not like Mandalorian Merc approved or anything like that, but it does get me a little bit closer to like, oh, that kind of looks like it's part of the Star Wars universe, or he's stepping out of the screen, which works really well for our Star Wars Airsoft events, the Galactic Civil War series. We've done 2 of those so far.
Wow.
The third one is coming up in November 4th and 5th in Boulevard, Missouri. That was where we had our first event.
Okay.
But that is a old rock quarry, so the whole vibe of the field just feels alien, because it's just rock spot, exposed rock, kind of looks like a set or some random planet that you go to. So we tacked a whole bunch of story. That's the planet Boulevard. It's a mining planet in the Outer Rim. The Empire's mining coaxium and stuff out of there. So we have our kind of story series, which is what we did the first 2 events, that are a little bit more role play involved. So it's multiple factions, Mandalorians, outlaws, rebels, Imperials. We have a bunch of NPC characters who are like bringing life to the town, who are running shops. We have a built-in economy, so players can earn credits by completing tasks and doing stuff for other NPCs. And then, kind of building up this whole just like an RPG world that we use Airsoft to do our combat with.
Right.
And then the Boulevard event is our first kind of change to what we've been doing. So we still have the credit system. We have the upgrade system that players can buy certain upgrades, whether it's the ability to use full auto on a weapon, or the ability to have more revives. So like in most milsim events you go to, there's like a 2 tourniquet system. We have Bacta vials that we have that are just like little small vials that have a little Bacta symbol on them that players fill up, and then if a ally comes up to you, they can dump one of those out that you have, and then it brings you back to life. Gotcha. So you can buy more of those with credits and essentially get yourself like 5 revives out of the unlocks you have versus the one you might start with. So these upgrades carry over from event to event, and that's our progressive character upgrade system. So we really are like building an RPG or a LARPy kind of system, where players can continue to grow their characters and become stronger or get different perks. So like the Boulevard is the first kind of step out of that, but we're still using the same system. So if you've played in the other events, you're going to have that. You're going to have that system. Like all those upgrades you have are still there, but we're doing, instead of just a continual kind of event, We're doing like 2-hour sessions. We're bringing in, we're trying very hard to bring in the skirmish system. We have to make sure that it's going to work on the field we're doing,
Yeah.
and integrating that. Oh yeah, skirmish. You know all about skirmish.
Oh yeah.
So
Shout
yeah.
out to one of my sponsors. Yeah, that's he sponsored the handful of episodes.
Oh, awesome.
But yeah, he's a good dude. Him and Hefe, Hefe's Airsoft Solution, we kind of partnered or whatever. They've sponsored a handful of episodes, and so you'll hear on my I insert the
Yeah.
promotion for him, you know. So, but yeah, Skirmish, man, I've been
The
talking about
plugs.
them for a while because, well, that's how we met. Really, was I heard about it, and then a long time ago, and then I started asking people about it, and I'm like, what? So not that many people had heard about it. I was like, well,
Hmm.
what about this? Can And when I talked to Brandon the first time, he's talking like he wants to use it on a like what you're talking about, like your type of event,
Yep.
bigger event, outdoor, not just the speed soft stuff,
Hmm. And that's where it's going to play perfectly with what we're doing, and actually in both kind of events that we do, the more role play and the upcoming Battlefront Boulevard, which
Yeah.
it is a conquest game. That it is
Mm,
straight out of the video games. If you've ever played the Battlefront series, where
Battlefront. Hmm.
you go to the capture point, you
Yeah.
try to take it over. If the enemy team might stop you, and then you gain points that way. And the skirmish system does 100% what we needed to do, and we're looking really hard over the last year to try to find something that could help us
Yeah.
do that without plugging up too many admins. Because if
Mm,
you aren't doing something where you're bringing in technology to help you, you're really just gumming down some manpower, and you can end up not really having a really fluid system either. There's a
mm,
lot of random moving parts that could very easily break down at each one of those areas if you don't have something that can help you. So, like the skirmish system is something
mm.
that is going to be huge for us putting on our event series, because we have a handful of like 12 admins that are at the event, helping the event,
Okay.
leading factions, um, monitoring combat, all that stuff. But when you get down to like the guts of like tallying numbers and stuff, like
Yeah.
we needed help, and we needed something that we could plug in, and it's going to be perfect for what we're doing.
Oh, that's cool.
If we can make sure, we just got to make sure we can get it up and running at the venue that we're going, because
Mm,
instead of like a lot of fields that they get it, they set it up, it's all working, and then they're good. We are a traveling system. We don't
mhm.
have our own field.
Right.
We go basically where we're invited, and we stay where we're welcome. So we bounce around between two fields right now, but we really operate in the Midwest. But we're always looking like, okay, what if somebody in California has a field that they want us to come to, whether it's a day event or a 2-day event? Like, we would like to do that, but the LARP system that we have going on really doesn't work too well when you have to load up an entire semi worth of stuff to take it out there for all the props that we have. Because I mean,
Mm,
we got a functional gonk droid, we've got tables, chairs, stuff to set up cantinas,
right.
dealing tables for sabak, like all this stuff. And having the Battlefront series is something that we can help, like, just okay, we got people who want to wear Star Wars costumes and blast each other and play in a Battlefront series kind of game and get their toes wet in Galactic Civil War. The Battlefront series is very easy to pick up and move, especially if we can get the skirmish system working really well,
Hmm.
and getting a really good understanding of our, setting up the mesh network at a field very quickly. We
Right.
could easily take that Battlefront series, copy, paste it, drop it into a different venue,
Yep.
have a lot of fun with a whole bunch of new people, and then jump over to a different area later in the year, do the same thing, and then try to bring as many of those people that we've gotten into the series,
Yeah.
to go to the bigger LARPer event, the continual event that runs for 20 hours, or what last one was like 30 hours, and I think it killed just about half the people there. But but when you're dealing with the Venn diagram that we have, which is you gotta like the cosplay and you gotta like the airsoft, there's only a few that are like, I also want to be on the field for 30 hours straight and eat nothing but random Star
Like
Wars food in my camp
squeezable
with my
packs of,
yeah,
protein mix or whatever it is.
yeah, exactly. It's like I was like, okay, well, let's dial it back a little bit. Well, the Battlefront series is going to be a little bit more open format in terms of we're going for 2 hours. Here's an hour where we go back. You can buy your upgrades. It's like going back to the game lobby, right? You can do your role playing in the cantina, hang out, and then we'll readjust teams because we'll have 3 different teams: the Imperials, Rebels, and then the unaffiliated, which can be your mercenaries, your pirates, your scoundrels, your random galactic denizens, like people that just look like they're part of Star Wars, but they don't necessarily look like they're a mud trooper or an Imperial soldier of some sort. That they can then get divided up into teams and issued colored armbands for identification. But for the most part, when you're shooting a rebel marine, you know that guy's a rebel. When you're shooting a stormtrooper, you're like, yeah, that is definitely an Imperial. So team identification with those people who have very specific costumes. They don't have to worry about a red or a white armband or a green armband. Like, it's like, yeah, I'm shooting a stormtrooper. Right. Like,
yeah, that's true.
How fun is that? So
no kidding. Well, I'm looking at your Instagram now, and like some of the costumes you guys have, like some of your the guys you're playing with as well.
Yeah,
decked out. Your helmet looks badass, bro.
Oh yeah, you got the one up right now with the sweet cannon helmet that I have on there.
Let me see. I'm going to share the screen and point it out. Let's see here.
Do it.
There we go. You see that?
Like pulling up the watch stream, yeah.
There you go. So this is the one I clicked on. Is that the?
That is a Scorch helmet. So there's the Republic Commando series way back when that came out on Xbox.
Oh, okay.
And that was actually a commission I did for a friend, and nice. He freaking loves those characters and that series, so I had done that for him. But like, if you look at the picture to the right of that, there's another set of gauntlets that I did for one of our players, which is very similar setup to what I have.
Yeah.
But it's very distinct, the coloration on those. So those are actually Cad Bane's gauntlets. So you will see a picture of him here in a second. But that has the 40 millimeter launcher on it. And I think there's another photo attached to that. Maybe you can click over on.
Oh yeah, here we go.
But yeah, so that has the Biofang radio just built right into it.
Oh, that's awesome.
As his request, so, for communication, he just presses down on it, and it's got the whole radio in front of him. Like mine does the Bluetooth, which hops to the radio that's sitting on my back, but his is all just right there in his arm, which is kind of cool.
That is cool looking. Yeah, wild, bro. So now, are these made out of plastic? Like, how do you put this thing together?
So that is a 3D print. So there are there are hundreds of thousands of people out there that are always continually creating 3D STL files,
right?
That you can buy and print off and stuff. A lot of what I do, because I'm not good at the 3D designing, like I can make a rectangle. Like you're like, man, I need a rectangle. Can you make it? I'll be like, give me like 3 hours. I think I got you. I'm not good at it. I'm horrible at it. But what I am good at is taking things that are made and created and then retrofitting and Frankensteining.
And making it look like the finished product. Like this paint on here, you made it scuffed up. I mean, it looks worn.
Yep.
Which is what you wanted. It's cool.
Yeah, that's all stuff that, there are so many resources that exist in like the cosplay and costuming world. And for me, I really have never existed in that. Like the biggest thing that I did was like every single year, me and my brother would always like try to do some random costumes together for Halloween. And that was like the extent of like my personal costuming like journey.
Okay.
It helped that my mom was a seamstress, so like over the years she could always like guide me on like what to do and like, oh, here's a tip that can make stuff look better. But there's so many things out there that essentially can teach you how to make stuff look like it's from Star Wars, even when it isn't.
Right.
So, like the armor you're looking at right there, I was at a Tarkov event, and it's a series that I've done frequently since their first. I think maybe it's the second event that I got into with them, but they just had their fifth event recently,
Okay.
and at that event, the owner always lets me just do really stupid, random, weird stuff. So I would come as an NPC, so not a player,
Yeah.
and I would always play a bounty hunter character. So I have tracking fobs that I use, whether they're radio frequency or GPS trackers that I can put on players, and then you literally just hunt those players.
Oh my
So
God, that's cool.
so at this last
Oh,
event,
what?
I did the same thing. So that what looks like an ice cream container there that I'm holding. That is a Camtono from Star Wars, so they're used to hold valuables. But it was made famous in Empire Strikes Back in Cloud City, where everyone's like running away, like Lando saying, "Everyone get out of the city! The Empire is taking over." And there's just one guy who's in a orange jumpsuit who runs across the screen with an ice cream maker, and like that's been something in like the cosplay world that so many people have just taken and ran with. So they'd go to the conventions dressed as that particular character carrying the ice cream container, and like it's recognizable among that group of people. There's like, "Oh, you're doing the thing," and he's like, "Yep."
Oh shit. Okay.
So later on, when the Mandalorian came out, the series, that Camtono was used to like pay off the bounty hunter Din Djarin with a bunch of Beskar. So it's like the first time you ever see the prop actually work like a prop, instead of just being somebody grabbing an ice cream maker and be like, "Okay, take this and run with it across the screen in the background. No one will notice, right?" Well, everyone noticed. So anyway, that in the event series that we do, we fill them up because it's functional and it has a code system on it. So different codes that we program into it, so players can like either whether their class is like a tech, which was the ones that could decode things. They have the ability to open those if they decode the encryption on it. We have like a whole cipher system. We do a whole bunch of weird stuff. So these techs
on this can right here.
Yeah,
you got where they can decipher stuff out of it.
We don't like to look at that photo. That's a sad photo.
Bad juju, man. What happened?
Yeah.
You got killed. Okay.
I can get into that here in a second. So if we dial back again to the cool one where I'm still upright. So the Camtono itself, what I did was for the system at that event, players could take any lootable items because it's a looter shooter, and if they put it into one of those Camtonos and got it to an extract, anything they got into it was worth double.
Wow.
The catch though, the real catch to that whole deal is on top of it there are tracking fobs. So after those started moving around, I would get notifications on my different tracking deals that I have, whether it was the GPS or the radio frequency with things. I'd be like, "Yep, this Camtono is on the move." So I would know to basically try to hunt that player down who has that Camtono. So that was the rub. It was high risk, high reward. If you got one of these Camtonos, filled it up with a bunch of stuff and got it to extract, you can make a lot of money. But know that you have basically a Juggernaut character, and that's the second part of this photo. Is that armor you see there is the Juggernaut system that we have implemented into the Galactic Civil War series, and this is the specific Mandalorian upgrade that players can get if they earn enough Beskar. In that armor, if you flip back to the original
First
photo
one.
there, yep, where I look cool. In that photo, you can see the green lights across the chest.
Yep.
So the system has built-in sensors on the chest and the back, and if a BB strikes the chest, one of those lights on there disappears. So basically, when he has full health, it takes 20 BB strikes to kill that Juggernaut character.
Get out. So you're talking about each individual little light across that whole thing.
Yep.
When it gets hit, it'll disappear. It'll dwindle until it's all the way gone.
Uh-huh.
And then you flip sides.
And then then
Or you're
I'd
dead.
be. That's where I'm on the ground as a sad guy. But
Okay.
so
That's how you got to this part.
yeah, that's how I got there.
And your
The
lights
lights,
are out.
all
Gotcha.
the lights are out. So the system itself, it's not. I say when you gets hit by a BB, one light goes away. It's every second that the system is detecting a BB strike, one light will go away. So we basically
Okay.
call it hit points. So if you shoot me 20 times in a second, it's only going to remove one life. So you have to
Right,
be
okay.
taking fire. Think of it as you have to be taking fire for 20 continual seconds.
Gotcha,
And it doesn't need to be continual, but it does count down. So as the system counts down, I'll have 10 life left as I'm going around. Later in the event, we found a good balance of the Juggernaut character having about 10 life for doing the bounty hunting.
Okay.
So I would set my life to 10 before I would go out hunting, and that would give players a lot better back and forth, because they, about halfway through the event, players are like, we can bring this guy down if we work together. So you might have a squad of like 4 people taking a cam tono and then setting up a trap somewhere, because I'm tracking the cam tono, and they set it up and basically, ambush me from multiple sides, and I can't get to everyone, and then I die. And then they loot me and they get a bunch of cool stuff, and then they know that I'm out of the game for like 20 minutes, so that gives them enough time to go and extract the loot that they had and get out of there. So,
oh my god.
So I built that one for the last event, and then I built 2 Dark Troopers. So I think I have a couple photos on here as we go up to the top, maybe?
The top?
Yes. Let's see here. Maybe I haven't loaded any onto here yet. Yeah, so this is just that's the breakdown of me. Yeah, here's a good video of me using the minigun and like tracking down. Oh, turn on the volume on that if you can. Maybe.
Oh, that's wild. So how are you getting this camera angle right here?
So that is the 360 that I have on this set of armor is just mounted onto the end of the minigun. So
man, that's cool.
I really like using that 360 because you can get shots like that of the swinging back on you, minigun firing kind of deal. Gets you some really cool footage of just.
I mean, that's amazing.
Self and so yeah, I got one of those 360 cams. It's one of the 360 Maxes a few years ago.
Okay.
And utilized those for a while. Those are really good.
Now, which armor were you looking for?
Oh man, where was the last place I posted something? Maybe it was on my Facebook that I've done it. But there's if you you can look at 2 of the other 3 of the Juggernauts there, right in the middle, right below kind of video you played, the different aliens. So those, we had 2 characters that came out as their own deal, where one was Cad Bane, the other one was Bosk, so they're famous bounty hunters. And then the third one there is an HK unit. So from the Knights of the Old Republic series, there's a character called HK-47, and he was a hunter-killer droid, and he is very popular with anyone who played those game series. So we brought him to life in the first event as different players were running around the field. They were finding bits of armor. So they'd find a bit of armor over like an arm or a leg or something like this, and they'd keep bringing it over to the droid dealer, and they'd get paid out. And then once all the parts were brought in by players, that droid builder assembled this Juggernaut character who, unfortunately, was absolutely crazy. His programming was not good. So as soon as he came to life, he started murdering everything. But the next series, the second event we did, we integrated that hit detection system into him. So those 3 characters that you see there all had the hit detection system on them. So they're hunting bounties, and it's a nice trade-off, because some of these characters have absolutely horrible visibility. I mean, you look at Bosk, and he's like looking through his nose and his eyes, and that's like his visibility. Geez. The HK unit there that you see on the left, he has, whichever side he is to you, he can see like through the mouth slit. So that is his field of view. It's like 20 degrees at best.
Wow.
Cad Bane was better off. He has really good visibility out of his mask, but he used basically dual Elite Force haters was his primary
I see
weapons.
that.
So his firepower wasn't as overwhelming as what the HK or Boss Cad, but he was more mobile. He could see better. But he also had his freaking 40mm launcher on his wrist too, that was able to take care of some problems, some bounties he was bringing in. So yeah, I had 2 different Dark Troopers that I built as well, and I don't know, maybe they're on my Facebook page, but yeah, those were super menacing as well. We have
this is your Facebook page here. You got a link for it on the Instagram?
Yes, good. Let's see. That's the ambition.
You can always pull it up too and scroll through it. Share the screen, scroll through. It's,
true.
Easier because you've got a bunch of stuff, man.
Yeah. So that was our last event, and we haven't opened up the registration for the next event. We're going to get that done here in the next day or so. Yeah. But let me pull up that other page real fast.
Yeah, pull it up, dude.
I'm
just blown away at how in depth you guys have. With the story, with the dialogue, with the all the credit system, with all these outfits, and then electronic stuff built in for functionality. The first time I saw this Juggernaut with a similar type of setup, but it was if you got shot in the front. It would change to blue, let's say, and if you got shot in the back, it would change to red. It could change back and forth. I think there was a time limit in between or something, so it wouldn't just keep flipping that quickly. But it was this guy talked to his call sign was Ghost Bones, and I think he's in North Carolina. So anyway, it was a really cool video that he had. He had 360 cam as well, and just a cool setup, that he had for the Juggernaut. But that was the first one I've seen with an electronic type of built-in thing where, that was functional. Yeah. And you've got all this tracking thing. How did you come up with the tracking thing, man? And I mean,
that's for cats. it's
awesome.
It's literally a cat tracker that we repurpose. So when you're dealing
put on
with
their collar or something.
Yep. There's some really cool systems that people use. I mean, there's Ares Alpha, stuff like that, but that really requires everyone to be utilizing their cell phones and getting signed up and registered. So I really wanted something that was simplistic, that really didn't take any setup, and B, it had to be able to kind of operate anywhere we went. Because sometimes you either have really bad cell reception, so it doesn't really communicate well with the Ares Alpha server. So we play in a bunch of different places, so it's not as easy to be yep, here's our field, this particular thing works, so let's roll with it. We have to be a little bit more adaptive to our scenarios, because some might have really good reception, some might not have really good reception. When you look at GPS
you really
trackers,
need, local systems mostly.
Yeah,
you can. Gotcha.
I mean, when you look at tracking systems that use GPS, and we have one of those that we use in certain areas that works well, because that is just 2 devices that talk to each other continuously, and
Gotcha.
they can basically walk you directly to where it is if it's in an area where it is able to communicate its GPS location. And it will say 563 feet. So that it's 563 feet over in that direction. Yeah. So you can start stumbling off that way to bring in your prize or your bounty. But the problem is with GPS trackers, and especially when you're doing different areas, different fields, is if you go inside, that GPS signal can get lost. So then it only operates off of the last known area. So in some areas it's not that bad, because you go into maybe Connex buildings, so you're still relatively working in the same vicinity. But say you go to abandoned asylum, Well,
Mm-hmm.
you have absolutely no idea where this person can be. The other one that we use, the one that I said for cats, because when I'm thinking, trying to figure out a way to do a bounty hunting system, you have to have a way that it can track players in whatever environment they really are. So the best way that I've found is radio frequencies. So these trackers, they communicate to each other, they send out pings of their location, and the cool thing with the devices is it basically plays a game of hot cold with the device itself in your hand. So not only is it a cool mechanic in order to like track down this player, but people around you are also taking that in too, because as you have this remote, it can be beeping faster as you're pointing into the right direction, and it beeps slower as you're pointing away, and as you're getting closer it gets louder and the lights flash bigger. So it's really, really involved with the player utilizing it and immersive. Like you feel like a bounty hunter because you are literally tracking and getting closer to this thing. Because I mean, it was designed to find a cat that's hiding underneath a shrubbery. So like it needs to be able to work that way. So when you think airsofting, you're thinking players running around in shrubberies, hiding in bushes. Perfect, you got it. Right. So that's the system. One of the systems we use. The other one, because the one that I was just talking about has about a 1,200 foot range. So in most areas, you can pick up a signal, you can find a target, but anything that's further away than 1,200, it's not going to be able to like send that ping out to the fob to say, "Hey, here I am." Yeah. Because basically those are like pinging every minute, just like to see if they are talking to the remote, and that's the batteries in them last for like 2-3 months. So you're good at it. Awesome. You put the batteries in, you're good for an event. You're fine. Right. Don't have to worry about charging anything. It just will work. The other one I used is for drones. So it's called Marco Polo, and it isn't as precise as that one that you use for cat, but this one is particularly used for finding drones. So it has a much larger range, and it can ping people miles away. So if you're in a huge AO, it will be able to pick up on that tracker basically wherever anyone is. So the real nice thing is using these remotes in tandem. So you might have one or two bounty hunters, one that's using one system, the other that's using another, and they're kind of trading off and like getting their sensors lined up. So I'm going to track them down to this part. You hang with me. Switch over to your remote when we get to like 50% range, and then it'll pick up on yours, so we can really dial in on where we're hunting. Triangulate, kind of. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the word I was trying to spit out.
Well, what sounds cool to me is this beeping one. It's like it adds an effect, like an excitement to it, like anticipation, right? It's like the when I was a kid, if we went somewhere where somebody was using a metal detector, one of my dad's friends had a metal detector, and you put the headphones on, and it would do the you're like, oh my god, like, oh shit, I found some. You pull it out and it's a little, well, back then it was the pop tops for the beer cans. Remember before they switched to the ones that actually stay on top of the can? Back in the 70s and 80s, man, you had to pull it. You pulled the whole thing off, and guys would pull them off and throw them on the ground. That's why they went to the new system. But you found those a lot. So yeah, it's a cool setup though. They have that where you can track enemy players that you have bounties on.
Yep, and that was the original design for all of it. But as far as like this next Battlefront series game, we'll utilize those in a different way, and they'll either be like side missions that will have certain whether it's like a ammo drop or whatever to engage players outside of the main objectives, but as a way for them to interact with it and be able to go hunt something down. Because I don't know how many times I've been at a milsim or whatever, they're like, go to grid square 3-6 or go to grid square G3 or whatever, and you got to find this small case. You're like, all right, got it. And you spend 3 hours like combing this grid square, being like, well, it's nowhere, only to find out that like a player 7 hours ago had like grabbed the box and like took it into a train station and like set it there. It's like, well, that doesn't really work.
Mm-hmm.
But with the tracking system, like you are able to you set up, hey, go over to grid square B3, so you start heading over that way, and you're using the tracking system to really help just lock in where this prop is you're supposed to be engaging with, and it creates a little bit more of that immersion for the players who are utilizing it.
Now, when you start the event, the person that is going to be that you have the bounty on, right?
Yep.
Uh, Obviously, they have to know that it's going to be them. You have to
Yep.
put the little tracker thing on them. But how is that? Do they sign up for that? Is that something you just pick somebody randomly? And then, I mean, that's got to add some really cool excitement to to the event because they know, oh, like they're looking just for me. Not
Yep.
like it's not like a team thing. I mean, you can have your team around you, but
Yeah.
like, dude, they're coming for me. Like that,
Yep.
it just sounds like because the couple of the milsims I've gone to just as press pass whatever were pretty standard, like takeover objectives and things like that. But it was what it really ended up being was just force on force. They were just people would just kind of dead end, just firefight in this main area. Okay. And then they're spending majority of their day walking back to spawn, trying to get a ride back to spawn with one of the technicals or something. Because it's a pretty big AO. But
Yeah.
there was the last one, or no, it was a Stonebreaker of last year. They had, and I'm sure they've done this on a bunch of them, but Third Coast Airsoft, they hosted the event at GTI, and they have the helicopter that flies around. So if you bought a ticket for the helicopter, they actually set up this thing where you went on a special mission. So they would have some of the cadre waiting at the spot where this helicopter would fly around, take you around, you'd shoot down, and then it would take you and drop you off, not where it took off from, but way in the back. And you went on this special mission to find, certain people on a team.
Yeah.
It was, it just added this kind of cool effect. But the things you're doing, bro, I'm blown away. Like I saw the Star Wars stuff on your Instagram, but I had no clue how in depth some of the stuff was.
Yeah. And let's see here. Here's a lot of photos from the last one. So Action Sports Wisconsin, this will work well. They probably had like 200 some photos of us. We have another photographer who's still digging through his photos from the last event.
Go ahead and share your screen again, because
Yeah.
it didn't come up when I
I
never got a notification.
I'll flip it over here. I just want to pull it up on the screen that I'm at right now. So the Action Sports Wisconsin team, they had their photographer out, and she had ended up taking like almost 300 photos. So that's the photos I was thinking of. But we had another one that came to our first event that drove up from Missouri up to Wisconsin, and he does a lot of like cosplay photography. So it was easy to convince him to come out to the first one, and then we got him up here for the second one. And I know he's got over 2,000 photos that he is digging through and refining and editing. So we're really, sitting on pins and needles waiting for him. And his name is Nick Costanza, if I remember right. And I'll send you a bunch of links that you can tie in.
Are you trying to share your? What are you
No,
on your Facebook?
I'm trying to type with one finger in my Mandalorian gloves real quick. not the best for.
Right.
I've got detonator on one hand and the other.
Oh God, for real. Well, I was going to ask you about the so in your when you talked about the event or whatever, you have credits. So is this so they do does each player start out with a certain amount of credits? It's like comes with the purchase of the that's what they start with, and then can they get more credits throughout the game, and how do they do that?
So we use the credit system to try to help steer the population of where we want people to sign up for. So last event,
Smart.
The first event, we had a whole bunch of rebels and not a lot of Imperials.
Gotcha.
So for the second event, we added like a 400 credit bonus for the any Imperials that signed up Imperial.
Okay.
We have additional like costume bonuses. So if you are in a costume that is very Imperial, like you kind of look like a character out of the story, you can get additional credits. Pre-order your ticket, you get additional credits.
Okay.
So we kind of reward our players for getting more involved with, you know,
that is so
the
smart.
experience. We also reward the players for completing different quests and doing different things. Maybe they take their credits to the cantina and they're playing against other players and betting their credits against each other. That is, there's 100 different things that people can do with their credits. We have like one blaster that we will give away at the pre-registration for the event. So anybody who pre-registered their ticket, they can get a blaster at random, and we give it away at the beginning of the event because a lot of people come for the event, so you can use it. So one of our admins, so I'll talk about the admin team real quick. So we're all a bunch of people that came together on Facebook kind of around the pandemic. There was a group that was started maybe a little bit before the pandemic, which was called Galactic Airsoft Alliance, and it's Star Wars Airsoft and recreation. So it's kind of like the reenactors of events and stuff was kind of the main thought before it. But it's people that want to wear Star Wars kits and go out and shoot each other and play Star Wars out in the middle of, an airsoft field. So the idea was formed there. I jumped in, or I got invited to it a couple months in because I was doing my own kind of thing. I was just being a Mandalorian, playing as a Mandalorian at wherever. Got invited into that group, and we started talking about, well, let's start trying to do an event. So what would it look like? What would we want to do? What would we like to see? We probably had a buy-in of around 70 active members in that Facebook group that were actively, saying, okay, rules, what should rules look like? What should hit detection, or like, what do we want to do? Where do we want to focus our money? Where do we want to focus the investments at the event? Do we want an economy? Do we not want an economy? What's this look like? And it was probably a 3-4 months discussion to really get that narrowed in before we locked in for the first event back in 2022 of October. And, we had 8 months before the first event. So we talked about it, we put out stuff, and we got like 100 players out to come in Star Wars garb
for your first
have
event.
Fun. Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, man.
The second event that happened a lot quicker than the first one, because we went from having like a 10-month window of planning and prepping to like a 6-month window after we caught our breath from the first one.
Yeah.
And I mean, everything fell together great, and we ended up with about still 100 people on the field. This last event, we had a lot more what we call NPCs, so those non-player characters. So we had like 20 of those, and that was amazing because you have different people coming out, whether they're Busk or Cad Bane, or they're Twi'leks who are running the cantina, or they're different characters that people come up with to help bring the world to life a little bit more. So we had like three shops on the field that people could buy stuff from, and one of them was like a blaster shop. So if you got like 2,000 credits, you could end up getting a blaster pistol. So one of the founding members of the Galactic Airsoft Alliance, Anders, he runs DT Blasters Works, which is basically a blaster or airsoft gun conversion site. So you can turn your weapon into something that looks like a Rebel Troopers, or something like a Stormtrooper uses, whether it's an AAP conversion kit or a M4 conversion kit. He does that. So he volunteers his time and his money to donate all those kits that we modify into weapons. So the last event, we had like 13 weapons that were in this munition shop. So players could come up and spend their credits and buy blasters from the munition shop. And as this thing gets bigger, we're really hoping to get some buy-in from either vendors or whoever else to help
Right.
sponsor the event that can be like, here's our new M4, convert it into a blaster, and
Yeah.
raffle it off, or put it in your shop for players to buy with credits, because none of it's monetary. You can't like walk up to me and be like, here's $50, can I have 100 credits? I'll be like, no, go away. Because it's all part of that in-game economy. We want that to be untouched from the real world. We want you to either get your enlistment credits by signing up for the event and participating as an Imperial, or we want you to earn your credits through what you're doing on the field, and a lot of it can be
in the game.
Yep. And that really does help drive players, because we were a little concerned that people would just go out there and try to hose each other down all the time.
Right.
People are really driven by the in-game economy, because there's tangible things. Because even if you're a player who's like, I really like this event, I don't know if I'm going to go to the next one, but maybe in like a year I'll go to the one that's coming back. You're still driven by the fact that your actions, what you're doing right now, can help you out later. Because most events you go to, you go, you do the day, and maybe halfway through the day you're like, I've got nothing else to really work for, I'm not really going to do anything, I'm just going to go kill people, I'm just going to not play objectives. Like, this can help really keep players on task and mission oriented and goal oriented for gaining credits. And it also can cause a lot of troubles, because there's a lot of people that will not do anything unless there's a credit involved. So you have like your outlaws who are like, you got to pay me up front to do the job, and you're like, okay, I'm going to pay you, and then they'll just disappear, and you're like, oh, I'm going to have to put a bounty on him later. But there, that's part of the fun of the event series. The game is
now, did some of those things come up as you okay, you had your first one, and plus you had a lot of time to talk with a bunch of other people and get ideas and things, right? But some of these, like what you just said, that scenario that came up, like, oh, okay, so this dude is going to do this thing for me. I paid him, and then he didn't do the thing. So now what, right? So I'm sure some of these things come up as you host these events, that you go, oh, okay, we need to kind of drive things in this direction. So instead of doing it, you're doing it like an exciting way, it seems like.
Yeah.
To let them, so you're setting the ground rules and the scenario and the whole story part of it, and then let them, and you just change that part, and it changes their behavior, which is way better. It's way more exciting to do that, because it gets people more involved in the immersiveness stuff. Because that's these bigger events, they seem kind of like everyone's gung-ho the first couple hours, and then everyone they get tired and stuff, it's fine, but it's there's really nothing else to work towards. And if they go and try to take over objective alpha, let's say the other team had it from the beginning, and it's just locked down, man, like really locked down. It's just too much work, and they just give up on taking alpha, right? So now they just try to focus on other things. But if there's really nothing else to go to, they just hang out behind this tree right here.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's something that was really nice. Can you see the screen I'm sharing here? I'm trying to
Yeah, I'm watching.
I'm going to just keep kind of flipping through some of these as we're talking, and maybe so you can kind of see here on the screen, they're the blasters that are hanging on the backside of the wall there. So there's all these blaster pistols that were for sale, and there's some random clothing items that people had found or had made that they put up for sale in this shop. But yeah, that's like one of the stalls for the shops, which I think came up.
So now these shopkeepers, they are, they're the NPCs, right?
They're the NPC characters. Okay. So
now you can't shoot the shopkeepers, right? Like in the game. You
can. There are consequences to shooting NPCs.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
One of the big parts is like the this is the nice part about the in-game economy. So say there's a bunch of rebels that come through town and they just start shooting anybody and everybody that exists.
Yeah.
Well, prices might drive up for any rebel character that comes through town next. So these NPC characters might die, and then they go back to the Bacta clinic, and they bring themselves back into the game as they respawn in later. But like, we have lootable items and non-lootable items. So there really isn't a reward for going up and shooting the blaster shop owner keeper. Like, you can't blast him and then grab a blaster off the wall and run away.
Gotcha.
He might have something behind his counter that is lootable. It might be one of those Camtonos that we were talking about earlier that might have credits in it. So yeah, that could be something if you're like an outlaw, or maybe you most people might try to distract and get the guy's attention and then like go in and try to steal it.
Gotcha.
They might blast the dude too, but you've basically screwed over your relationship and your rapport with that particular NPC for the, I don't know, maybe years to come if they keep coming back as the blaster.
Yeah, if you go, if it affects the next event.
Recklin here is a guy who was at our first event down in Boulevard, and he returned as the blaster, the munition shop owner at this last event, and he's done a freaking awesome job. Just making that character and putting together posters and bunch of different random props that he has available for players as keepsakes. But here's like the medical droid. So one of the systems we have this is one of the more expensive upgrades, is you can buy a medical droid, and it basically will give you a self-revive at the end of your bleed out. So if you are sitting there 2 minutes to your bleed out, nothing else really happens to you after you've gotten shot, like you can't keep shooting players who are in bleed out.
Gotcha.
You can get back up and you're back in the game. So it really encourages players to move out of certain camping areas, because like if I'm attacking a base and I've got a medical droid, I can keep like inching my way up to a better spot to attack this base if they're just going to camp inside the base and do nothing. The flip side to that game mechanic is EG-67s, or like CO2 powered grenades. We call those thermal detonators. And if that goes off or you get taken down by a thermal detonator, the self-revive mechanic doesn't work anymore.
Right.
So
it blasts the droid.
Yep. So like, there are ways around like taking down a player who has a self-revive mechanic. The one is, the thermal detonators. The other is if me as an enemy go up to the player, I can touch them, and then they end their bleed out and they go back to their spawn. They give up any lootable items they have on them. Credits aren't lootable. They're just part of the economy. A lot of times, if you have currency that is lootable, it's very hard to control griefing in certain situations. You have people just try to meta game a lot of these things to get the credits. They hide their credits somewhere and then go out and try to murder someone. And there's not really a lot of consequences into that behavior. So we just, as of right now, we've kept that off the table. Like, you can't loot credits. You can loot lootables off people, but that's it.
How do they know? How does each person know how many credits they have?
So
is it a physical thing?
It's a physical thing. Yep. So I've got a container next to me. I can maybe try to hold them up to the camera. I don't know if it's going to focus or not.
Oh shit!
So
nice.
These are all 3D printed credits. We have, as of right now, there are 3 different colors. We've got bronze, silver, and gold. Bronze is worth 10 credits, silver is worth 50 credits, and gold is worth 100 credits. And then we'll be introducing the very fancy new ebony credit that is worth 500 credits. So that's a fancy one, but that will really help us keep the rest of our credits in play when we are just doing registration, and say an Imperial gets 500 credits, they're just going to get one of the ebony ones, and they're good to go.
How long did it take you to print? Did you print all those?
I printed about 60% that I had, and then Anders, who's the other basically lead admin of the event, he printed the other portion of them, and it was... I got into 3D printing for the event. I really hadn't done it beforehand. I got my first 3D printer, and I ended up getting a a Cobra Max, which is it's got a bigger print bed to it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm able to print armor and helmets in like one go, so I don't need to piece everything together.
Oh, nice.
And like these droids, one of our other guys, he not pictured here. We'll probably see him a little bit later here. He ended up doing all the medical droids for this event, so he made like 30 of those bad boys.
Jeez.
And then like those have like the alligator clips, so you could like clip them onto your body, so then they're just kind of riding on your shoulder. And
Nice.
let's see. I know one of these other guys had he had one on his back that he made here. So that's kind of what those little droids look like that are on
cool.
players, but you'll probably see a bunch of them on some of these players as we click through here.
Right.
So there's a guy who's playing a Jawa. So basically anybody who's bringing junk from the field could get credits from it. So
that's cool.
Like part of the day, there are people running around just like picking up the field and like
I was gonna say, if you incorporate like water bottles, like empty water bottles, like trash, like all this stuff, dude, what a smart freaking system, man.
So like at the end when we were doing our field cleanup, we're like, there's not a lot for us to do. Like,
right.
So like that
whatever you find on the field that's trash, like some kind of like a Snickers wrapper. Okay, next event, Snickers wrappers are worth whatever. Like you just keep adding to the list, and everyone picks up all their shit. That's awesome.
Yeah. So here's one of the Dark Troopers. So that's the armor there on the right. You can actually see a medical droid sitting on this guy's shoulder there too. Mm-hmm. But that Dark Trooper armor, this one thing that I haven't talked about yet for this stuff is, so this has the full Juggernaut plate is externally mounted on his back. So on this particular type of Juggernaut, he has a way wider open area for where he can get shot. So like this system here itself is basically like an open nerve ending. So when you're shooting at some of these Juggernauts, some of their armor is set up differently. Like that Mandalorian one is set up differently, that it is built into the actual armor. So all the sensors have been plugged out of that armor. So it takes about 0.5 joules or less to set off a hit. So if you are 300 feet away and you are lobbing those BBs out and they're coming out, as fast as somebody with a blow, like a straw and a thing, like it may not do damage to the Juggernaut. And really it's probably around like that 200-foot range with a normal weapon that's shooting 1.5 joules that you can really start doing damage to some of these characters, especially like that Mandalorian Juggernaut. There are sensors. So we have a couple different Juggernaut characters. So like the Mandalorian one that the Mandalorian players can upgrade themselves to, and basically they become a Juggernaut until that system is destroyed. This system is like NPC characters that are inside these Juggernauts. So they're really not. We've had maybe one player volunteer to go into one of the Juggernaut suits, so it's available to players if they want to. But it's a totally different experience. You got to be willing to just get lit up in some areas. But the other flip side of that, so like the chest part on this guy, we'll probably come across it later, it's got the bottom that's exposed, and it is built into the armor in a special way that like the chest going all the way up will detect BB strikes. But on the helmet here too, it has the sensor system built in. So there's a cord that runs down to the back, and it's integrated into it. So the sensor system, and I hope no one's listening to this because this is kind of privy information. These Dark Troopers are especially vulnerable in the back. So a front hit, if you're really close, will set off this thing. But for the majority, all the sensors are built into the back of the head. So when you get behind one of these things, that's when they're really easy to take down. The front is a little bit harder to do damage to.
Gotcha.
But the exception to that is there's these little white dots that you're seeing here. Those are actually laser detection system.
Oh, wow.
So we have what we call the ion system that are, we have different classes too. We can go into that in a second. But only the recon class can utilize those special weapons. They can loot them off each other's, basically. They are that laser system, like a mile system. So you can shoot these mechanical juggernauts up to, 100 or 1,500 feet away. So you could be sniping these things from across the map, doing damage to them, and they can't do anything about it except try to get out of line of sight.
Wow.
So that's like a counter mechanic that we have to some of these juggernauts too.
Mm-hmm.
And like that HK unit I was showing before, I built his sensors like into his eye sockets, so he doesn't have these lobes. It's just his eye sockets that if you shoot him with that laser system, that will pick it up.
Oh, that's wild.
Let's go. We're gonna have to click through this. Click the wrong button. So yeah, economy, that is something that carries over from event to event. See, there's some NPCs that we had like, I did it again. That came out dressed up all cool and alien like. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That just helps sell the environment. Let's see what else. A couple of Mandalorians.
Now, where is this event right here?
This is Action Sports Wisconsin.
Okay.
So this
That's
is
pretty cool.
Yeah, this is. Oh, there's a cool looking guy right there. That looks familiar. So this is what I would call my local field. So they're the field that had done that like Tarkov event that I have.
Oh yeah.
I play test a lot of stuff out with them, whether it's like a weekend game. I'm like, all right, here's the Cantonos and the trackers. Like, I want to do like a game type, and they usually are cool with it, or they tell me, no, let's not do that right now, Chris. Like, okay, sounds good. But most of the time, they always love seeing the stuff that I'm cooking up to play test. So
now, as far as them running the field, what or the field rules and that kind of thing. So when you do these events, like you just said, maybe they'll have some input like, yeah, let's not do this particular thing. When you first brought this to them, they were pretty open to exploring this whole event system.
Yeah, I mean, they were very receptive to I don't know if it was just entertaining my craziness, because it was very hard to really explain to anyone, the depth that we want to go through. And I'm sure that we've all been there at airsoft fields where, somebody's just talking nonsense and you just sit there and nod and smile.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, whatever.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because I've heard people talk about events like that they want to host, and it's just like, hey, it would be cool if this and this and this and this, but they don't really have an actual plan to put it on the field and run it. So you guys, so when your first event, what was the biggest thing you learned from it that you had to change or you wanted to change?
Yeah, for us, we had, it was like limited ammo at the first event, and we still have some ammo restrictions, but we kind of took away at some of like the bureaucratic aspects of the event that we felt slowed things down. And it really didn't help add to the immersion of it, because we wanted people to be a little bit more sparing with the ammo that they had on them and the ability to reload on the field. So we changed a lot of those mechanics around to be based on class. So we have 6-8 different classes. I can't tell you how many there are right now because that's getting changed. So we're doing a tweak there as well, and that will be announced in the next day or so here. As we finalize the next series of the event. But we didn't have classes at all. There was just everyone could kind of do everything. So we ended up bringing classes into the next event, which kind of exists when you go to some milsim events. They'll have heavy weapon specialist or light machine gun user or medic, and we've integrated the same thing with our events but we've tied in a lot of role-playing aspects to that. So I'll elaborate on one of those classes was the tech that we integrated in the last event, and they have a cipher wheel that can basically decode messages. So not only is the message written in a Star Wars language, but that message is scrambled, and you need to use the specific cipher to unscramble that message codes. And we had 60, 70 of these code panels that we put out on the field that all had different messages on them. But it was
60
a way
or 70?
yeah, it's crazy stuff.
God.
But so we wanted it to be where, okay, I'm a tech, and if I come across one of these panels and I spend 3-4 minutes decoding this thing, that might be great, but I may never be asked to get the message off the specific panel. So we wanted it to be very quest driven. So if your general comes up to you, or your faction leader comes up to you and says, I need a squad to go to this area, track down panel 3, and pull the code off that panel and bring it back to me, they have a specific thing that they're going for. So now they have that drive to go to that certain area, to go to that panel. It might be something that's easy to do, and there might be very little conflict, or maybe they have to sneak because it's an area that's close to an Imperial base, and they have to get in and out without being detected. But now you kind of add that element of danger into their quest line, because they don't know who they're going to necessarily come across as they're doing that quest. But you take basically a mundane situation like a fetch quest, but you put the spin on it where now someone is like actually decoding a message and has to get that proper message decoded back to the admin, because we all have the list of what all the panels mean, but the players don't. So you could have a tech going around and trying to decode everything, but that's his whole weekend. If he tries to do that, he's going to get nothing from it. So we wanted it to be big enough that you couldn't really do that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, there's also like different like stashes that only techs could like get into to open, so they could come across those. Same thing with like the Camtonos. Other players could get the coast from those by completing missions or quests for certain NPCs, but for the majority, that was like the tech's identity. They also had the ability to, for some of the Juggernaut characters, the mechanical ones, repair them. So they have the life that goes down on them, but you could have the ability to restore 5 life on that Juggernaut, like in the middle of the field, instead of it going back to the base.
Oh wow! Yeah.
We also have like the smuggler
that's a cool
class.
Man. I like that.
Yeah.
Tech thing. Yeah.
So we have the smuggler class, which was another more role play class, and they have the ability to hide or conceal any of the lootable items. So if you're a smuggler, you can take a lootable item and put it in your backpack, and no one can get to it except for other smugglers. So if there's might be an ISB agent that works for the Empire that is a smuggler, they basically have the ability to go, if there's a smuggler that's gotten killed, to go loot whatever stuff that they are hiding or trying to quote unquote smuggle. So you kind of have this counterplay between these classes that are kind of clashing. The medics have the ability to use those Bacta vials, or they had the ability to use both their Bacta vials on a player or use the player's Bacta vials on them. We changed that around because we also had these Bacta sprayers, which were just like misters or atomizers that we used for the medics. So they would have to be on that person, like spraying them down for like 20 seconds, and then that would bring them back into the game. The next event, every single medic is going to be issued one of those Bacta blasters or Bacta misters.
Yeah.
And that will be their way of like interacting with players uniquely instead of using those Bacta vials instead. So we have that class system. And one of the things we're doing is we're combining the tech class and the smuggler class into one. And they're going to be operative / scoundrel is what that class is called. So scoundrel. So you have like the kind of like hacker / like smuggler, kind of outlaw-y, like sense. You're up to no good kind of stuff.
Right.
That's all getting bundled into one class. The limitation, because that's like a lot of juicy stuff you can do. They are like one of the only classes that has a specific limitation, and they can only use blaster pistols. So they can only use pistols in the game. So you might have all these cool skills that you can do, but you might want to surround yourself with people that have heavier firepower. So like you can look at this guy here, and from the back, what we call our squad weapons they're called heavy repeater blasters.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can find a good picture of him earlier on. Yeah, like here's another
Oh,
one where he's just
gotcha.
got a freaking huge. I think that was a MG42 that he just kind of added a bunch of random stuff to,
Yeah.
PVC pipes and like made a cool little
May look
tube
like
thing.
extra barrels. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so that would be like one of those classes, and that's the heavy class. So if you want to use
Jesus,
a
dude. Look
use
at
a
that. What's that
huge,
pack on his back? Is that like
yeah,
the ammo can feeding the gun or
I
the
I think it's for show.
not
I don't think
ammo?
it.
Right.
Yeah, but
It
yeah,
doesn't feed it, but
there's
I mean like for show, but like
yeah, exactly.
so the energy pack that
Yep.
provides the
There
laser
was
beams.
there's the one character in Rogue One. If you remember, he almost had like a it looked like a ice or it wasn't an ice cream machine, but it looked like a little beverage cooler or something that was
Uh-huh.
strapped to his back that he just was lighting up, dark or death troopers and stuff with his
Yeah.
huge blaster. But that's the similar concept is we want and there's a lot of events that do this that you have to use specific weapons, but our
Okay.
heavy repeater blasters, that's the key word, is heavy. They gotta look massive, they gotta look ridiculous, and it has
Yeah.
to look like a Wookiee is really the only one that would be comfortable carrying something around on the field.
Right.
So like even Boss here, he had done up some additional things to like his just his
Is
regular
that
saw.
249 or
Yeah,
something?
249.
Yeah.
So he added some different things on it, tossed a couple random barrels on it, and then utilized that. But yeah, all these different classes exist, and kind of helps give them yeah, that's a different shot of that dark trooper from the
Oh
front.
shoot, that's awesome.
So
Okay.
the last event was it was all built around the dark troopers. So these dark
Okay.
troopers existed at the beginning of the event for the Imperials, and that was their main quest line, was to upgrade all the dark troopers to get them to be as basically badass as they could be, because they started
Right.
off with like only five hit points, so they were relatively easy to take down. They could only use semi-auto on their weapons, and they could only
Okay.
use like here he's just got his random blaster that he's using. And they also could only be moved and commanded by officers. So an officer needed to be next to them, giving them orders of what to do.
Gotcha.
They had basic programming because our version of these dark troopers is in between what we see in the Mandalorian later on, which is completely droid, and what existed in like Legends and stuff, which was they started off as like clones that were basically transformed into dark troopers with cybernetics. So this is kind of the step between
like a little cyborg-ish.
Yep. So you have the player that's in the suit, but it has neural inhibitors as soon as you put it on, so your cognitive functions go way down.
Gotcha.
But later on, if the Imperials completed all of their missions for upgrading the Dark Troopers, those Dark Troopers would have gained the ability to make decisions on their own,
right,
and become even more deadly. So they didn't get
the first
all of
version
their.
is, hey, I'm just a giant meathead with this gun. Yep. Point me where to shoot. I don't care who I shoot because I don't really have too much emotion.
Yep.
And then they got a little smarter.
Yep. So they continue to upgrade through the event, and they never got their full cognitive functions. Yeah. But they did get their weapons upgraded, and they did get additional. Became tougher too, so they were harder to take down. But
right.
they were still able to be destroyed, and encountering and fighting these dark troopers was really fun for players that had a chance to do that.
Dude, this sounds so cool. Like I feel like I'm hearing you're telling me a story, okay, and it's drawing me in like big time. And so so in between events, you and your guys, like you said, this group, you talk online with, like on Facebook group or something.
Yep.
You guys are probably like always kind of back and forth with new ideas and, hey, what about this? Maybe we can change that or add this to, and it's all based on these movies, right?
Yep.
And these stories. So like, the event you're hosting, and these are, it's not like a movie, okay, where there's a set, there's actors, they go, and they say their lines, and then it's done for whatever, An hour.
Yep.
You guys want it needs to be. It's like you have to think of all these things to put in here to make it translate well from a movie to this, and keep it flowing so
Yeah.
that it's fun. We're not just standing around waiting for the director to tell us what to do or whatever. So it sounds like you have all these different aspects to it that are kind of getting like deeper and deeper as you go.
Yep. We have like one of our one of our admins goes by Raincloud on our Discord, and I'll shoot out our Discord here to everybody
Okay,
later. I'll give you that link and you can post it
for sure.
in the info, because we have our Discord, we've got our website, we've got um, our Facebook group, the Galactic Airsoft Alliance. We've got all those as a way to like pull in and try to draw players together and create this community. We have like 360 people in our Discord at the moment, and that will keep growing. We have
Nice.
over like 1,100 players or 1,100 people in our Facebook group, so that will
Nice.
keep growing.
Right.
But yeah, one of our guys, Raincloud Willis, he has been with us basically from the start. Me and him met at a different Star Wars event that took place at the Rock Airsoft in like 2019, and we ended up working together on like creating the event series. So a lot of times I might be like, okay, like this is the world, this is kind of the overarching skeleton of what I see, because
Hmm.
whether it is for Boulevard, which is it's very easy to come up with, backstories to these planets. Outer Rim, mining planet, they're going after these things.
Yeah.
And then Willis goes in and he creates 1,000 webs that interlock over each other that may not even, like, maybe 10% of those will actually come to fruition. But
Hmm.
they exist, so there's either quest lines that are written or things that are done, and it's our job really to just create the world and then let people discover it. So whether the last event we had over like 20 NPCs, so they were in like super big part of like bringing those storylines together in terms of like children being abducted and being used for research by the Imperials, and like a secret cult that worshipped this mask that took over people's characters, and all this random stuff that some of it, like I said, came to fruition, and some of them doesn't. And the next time we come back to that world or that planet, maybe some of that stuff will bubble up next time, or
Yeah.
maybe new NPC characters will be introduced with different narratives, and you just get to evolve the story. And one of the cool things we have on our Discord that I wish we would have done with the last event is we just have like tales of ambitions told. So it's just players that post their little story of an instance or interaction that they had that really helps everybody understand what was going on everywhere on the map. Whether there were Mandalorians that were betraying their coven and they're won over secretly, or there's a whole bunch of squirrely stuff that was happening that I didn't know was happening. But
Yeah. Oh, that's wild. Now, how does so for if these continue, right? Like these characters, they go whatever their actions are, it kind of carries over. Anything like that. How do you guys know, and how do they know? Like how is that carried on?
yeah, so really the biggest thing is so we can dive into like the technical aspect of the carryover. So each one of our players is given, I wish I had one with me, but I don't right now. They're given what we call a chain code card, which is basically a fancy business card that's made of plastic, and it has all the upgrades that are available to that player. So when they go through registration, they're given that card and their unique chain code, which is a combination of the last 4 digits of their phone number and their birthday. And that is their unique chain code that follows them from event to event.
Holy
So
shit.
they're
Okay.
given their credits, they're given that chain code card, and as they go off and they earn upgrades, that chain code card is getting punched by the NPCs as they're buying stuff.
What?
So by the end of the event, what they do is they turn around and they hand in their chain code card and they hand in their wad of credits, and we take that and plug it all into our spreadsheet. And so the next time they come to an event, they say, "Hey, my chain code is dot 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 dot." And then I'm like, yep, here's your name, here's your character. Let's go ahead and issue your credits. And yep,
You
here are the
guys are
upgrades you
putting
have.
in all this in like an Excel spreadsheet or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Bro.
Yeah. Freaking crazy, right? We're insane. I mean, one of my guys who is out of Texas, like he is an Excel wizard,
yeah.
and he's
So he
made
probably
this
makes it
brilliant
look all cool.
spreadsheet. Yeah, he makes it look all cool, and it
Uh-huh.
tallies up how many upgrades there are. Or
Oh my
it
God.
gives us a good, very easy, clean visual when we're looking at it. Like, and even when we're plugging in stuff as stuff like the Imperials had started off with the 400 credit bonus. Pre-order was 100. We just enter in the fields, and it will automatically tally up. Okay, this is where they were at last event for their credits.
Nice.
Here's all the fancy stuff that they get for, whether they submitted their costume ahead of time or whatever, and it just pumps up. Yep, we owe this guy 1,600 credits the next time he comes to an event.
Oh my God. Bro, this stuff blows me away. When I'm talking with people that host events or that go to these events, that they're talking about how in depth some of this stuff is. I mean, I know I don't have a lot of experience with these kind of events, but I feel like even if I did, I would still be impressed because this is a lot of fucking shit that goes into this.
We're doing a lot of stuff, and a lot of, some of it works, some of it doesn't. And
well, sure.
The biggest thing about what we do is we're flexible, and we are willing to change things. And we have, there's like 12 of us admins that exist for the event series, and we have a meeting at least once a month to talk about the event series and where we're doing and who's doing what, and who's working on what, and what we need to clean up and what we need to talk about and what we need to iron out. And we have a bunch of different players, but we all kind of have the same goal in mind and the same experience that we want the players to have. We also put out a after action report that people fill out. So it's a Google, basically a survey that everybody fills out. So they talk about their role playing experiences. Do they like these upgrades? What do they think about dealing with these things? And it gives us a comprehensive look at, how everybody enjoyed the event, what areas we kind of need to look at to tweak if we need to tweak something, and go from there.
So you look at all those too.
Yep.
Whew, bro.
Yeah.
This is but you know what? It's so in depth. There's so much going on. You guys are supplying a lot for events like this. that I think a lot of people, especially newer players, might not even realize how much goes into this, how much prep, how much behind the scenes stuff. And it's like it probably feels like a labor of love because you don't feel like you're working. Right, because you're excited about making the next event better. Yeah, that's wild, bro. Impressive.
Most impressive. So yeah, the other thing comes down to just players' interactions with each other. Like the actions that you have with one player, one event, and you might have betrayed. Here's that HK unit here on the left.
That looks cool. Yeah.
And we have a voice modulator built into this guy, so he sounds like a robot.
Oh shit, that's awesome.
So yeah, the other thing is like players' interactions with each other. So one player may not trust another player next event on different factions when they set something up, and you kind of burn a bridge there. Or maybe they repay the favor at the next event. So that's the cool thing about these continual characters and these continual overlaps with these different things.
How big is this field you're at here on Wisconsin?
This one, God, I think 60 acres. So it's got a good. There's sweaty me after about 15 hours in or something.
Oh God.
That's Tamara or Tam. She has taken over as like our cantina / one of our NPC admins.
Yeah.
So we had set up this area on the field that we're able to get approved as a safe area. It's got netting up and stuff, so players can like take off their helmets, take off their stuff, and like they were cooking up meals the entire time, and
Oh wow.
like players could like buy tokens with real money to like so they didn't have to worry about food. They'd just go to the cantina and
Okay.
they'd get served up their meals for the day.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was also snacks and drinks and other things available that players could pay credits for, and go to the cantina, sit down, relax, play some cards. Um, yeah,
Dude,
but
that's
yeah,
cool as shit.
she was at the first event and helped out with some of that. Oh, there's another
Mm-hmm.
cool picture of me looking directly at the camera, which I'm not supposed to be doing.
I was gonna say, so the place is big enough for sure to spread out some things if you needed to, and
Yep. So our big thing is there's this city that's made up with all these connexes. So there's like
yeah.
40 or 50 of these connexes that make up this makeshift city, the shanty town,
Mm-hmm.
and all around it is surrounded by woods that have different building objectives. So
Yeah.
for the majority of the event, combat is pushed out to these areas that are like in the woods. But
Yeah.
every once in a while, there might be an Imperial convoy or a rebel ambush on an Imperial convoy, or the Bolvosi, who are like our Tuscan raiders that just want to kill everything kind of deal. They might
Yep.
attack the city or something. So you kind of got to be on alert. There might be bounty hunters that are tracking particular characters. So there's a good amount of combat that happens in the town, but a lot of what we call the Galactic Civil War is all kind of pushed out into the wilderness. So like all the Imperial objectives were basically out for their main missions were out in the woods. So to improve those Dark Troopers, there are 3 different research stations, and every 2 hours that research station would change to a different one that they would have to get out there, send out an NPC who is researching a particular thing, whether it's the armor or the weapons upgrade or the ability to heal players, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That all kind of rotated out in the wild, so you'd have them going out there, and you might have outlaws attacking one time, or you might have outlaws and rebels attacking another time, to just kind of push that Galactic Civil War out to the fringes of the fight. So you have more of your milsim missions pushed out there, and more of your LARP missions that are kind of centered around the town.
Yeah. I'm amazed you guys had, like I said, that was a good turnout, having 100 people at your first event. You definitely got the word out. You did something right, because that's unusual.
Yeah, that is something, we had a lot of time and a lot of ability to just talk loud enough for a long enough time to like build that core, which, a lot of times when people are planning events, it's, okay, when do we do this? Okay, we got a place next month. Okay, let's promote.
Yep.
And it's harder to draw in. But if you got
harder.
6, 7, 8 months to do it, that's easier. I mean, our next event is a little under 6 months away at this point. So there's still enough time to turn around. So this is one of those ion weapons I was talking about before. And this one was actually fitted with one of the ATN day-night digital scopes.
Oh, wow.
So this one you could utilize at night because you could see that laser flashing where it was hitting in comparison to your scope.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I guess the other aspect of your original question is like continuing from event to event. Those upgrades carry over, those credits carry over, and then like the interactions and the rapport that you have with your faction leaders carry over. So if you're known to be a reliable soldier, you might be given special missions that may pay out better versus somebody who has almost been acting like a deserter the entire event. You might not get a lot of rapport with your faction general.
Gotcha.
So he's Chewbacca.
Were those guys doing push-ups?
Yes,
They were. They were getting punished.
So this NPC character, basically her hand was basically up for marriage. So one of the things that happened during the event is like it was being talked about that like she wanted to find a suitor, so you had all these players that were like I'll marry her, I won't do that.
I gotcha.
So then there was this like competition that they
had.
the
courting.
So there was the push-up competition. They had like a shooting competition, so there were targets set up. So they're basically testing their mettle as a man to win her heart. And there were a bunch of participants that were watching as well, and a bunch of them had like placed bets. So there were a bunch of people that were betting on who was the one that was going to win. So there was,
oh my God, that's awesome.
There was a bigger credit payout for some of those players.
That is cool, man. Okay.
So it's just that, like, I had no idea that was going to happen. But
did she end up? Who won? Who'd she end up marrying?
There was. I wish I could tell you. I haven't heard the follow to that. All I know is there was a bunch of people that got blown up by some grenades at the end. I know that Talon here had like set something up to like there was like 3 double crosses that all happened at the end. Where almost everybody died except for like 1 or 2 people. So
okay,
it was a little. There was a wedding ceremony, and then there was a big grenade detonation. And
oh shit!
Yeah, they went and had
a duel. Yeah,
I think they had to do like a kissing contest or something too.
Awesome.
I have no idea. I don't know what they're doing there. Oh yeah, so in his hand here, you can see one of those chain code cards.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
they're like transparent plastic cards that have all the upgrades printed on them, and the chain code card their chain code that is basically added with the label maker. So,
gotcha.
Oh, yep, this is the guy. He was the one.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Because Chewbacca was so excited that he won. So, there you go.
Oh, that's dude, this is so cool. Okay. Now, you said the next event that continues this story and everything is 6 months away. So, like, what, before Christmas? What, October, November?
November 4th and 5th. And it is the continuation. I guess I can stop sharing my screen here. This one is more of the Battlefront series event. So it is that instant action. So you go out for 2 hours, capture the points using the skirmish system, come back into like the LARPy area, which is a safe area where the shops and everything are set up. So like the lobby is set up. So it's a way we're trying to bring in more players that are used to the airsoft side of the experience. So like, going out, I want to shoot a bunch of BBs. This is what's going to happen. And we want to be able to try to get those players to tip their toes into what the event series is.
Right.
And I mean, once they get out there and they see all the things we're doing, they're going to fall in love with it. But sometimes it's very, very hard to convince someone in 5 or 6 seconds, because that's how long you have to captivate somebody's attention these days is, all right, this is all the stuff we're doing. And like, we've been talking for 2 hours about the stuff we're doing, but like, how many people can I get in like 3 or 4 seconds? And, we've got the YouTube videos that we put out so you can like see the quick glimpses of what it is. And
yeah, right.
There's a bunch of those that we do in Instagram and all those other avenues that you can to try to captivate people. But in reality, it comes down to our players and just them talking to each other, because we pull from everywhere. And I mean everywhere right now. I mean, we had people coming down from Canada, we had people coming up from Florida, we had people coming up from California to come to the Midwest game. So that's like one of the 100 players that are coming to do this. And they're not players that are just like, I want to come check it out once. They're ones that have been to both of them so far. So they've gone to Bolivar, Missouri, which is middle of nowhere, and even Boston, Wisconsin, which is also very close to the middle of nowhere, to come do these fun events, because they're so unique. And we put every ounce of our love and our respect to the genre into these events, because we want it to feel as authentic as we can. And we want people to just be transcended for a weekend and just dispel all reality for a second and now you're just playing the universe that so many people love. There are
Right. Well, this
millions
is
and
like,
millions
to
of
me,
people.
this is like the okay, so people love Star Wars. They love the stories. They love the, whatever kind of literature is out there on it, and the movies, and then all the cartoons, all the things, all the spin-offs and everything. And then so you got people that love to watch that kind of stuff. Well, then they want to talk about it, so they get together and talk about it. Just like in life, they'll, oh, you're in this group. Let's talk about this is like the next step. This is like the, you know, people. A lot of people I've talked with. They say, yeah, I got into airsoft because I saw a bunch of videos and I said, oh, I want to play Call of Duty in real life. These events you're doing are literally, they're playing Star Wars in real life, and take your character and your costume as far as you want to, like as more authentic, as authentic as you want to, and and it's pretty amazing, man, what you guys have going on.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, dude.
poured. Like I said, we've poured just about everything we can into the series, and the integration of the skirmish system is just going to add that next level to everything.
Yeah.
And this is something that I was talking with the skirmish themselves about is can we integrate our chain code system into the skirmish system, which is the band and scanning, and it's it's something that he hasn't even thought about because no one has even asked the question.
No. Right.
And, it may not be something that we see in the next year or 2 years, but working very closely with him and everything he's doing, it could be something that we see to help build that system into something that is even more than was originally intended. And it
Yeah, exactly.
expand, to the every single facet of the airsoft world or the LARP world, if you will, because there's the ability with this system to do so many cool things, whether it's humming bombs or capture the areas or all sorts of different things to help.
Well, that's what I was thinking when you were telling me about this, and when we first started talking, you started getting more in depth on what the all the different facets of the event, and I'm thinking, okay, these skirmish boxes, they can be named whatever, okay, and set up for. They have a lot of different variables they could set up for each box,
Yep.
and that you tap. So I'm thinking the same thing you're thinking. Matter of fact, when him and I talked, when I first met Brandon and had him on here, as he's talking, I'm just, all these ideas were popping in my head. I said, I think I had just gone to a milsim that was pretty big. It's like 700 people, right? And I felt like the registration could have gone quicker if we had a quicker system. And so I told him, I was like, hey, do you think you could program that to for a game registration so that when people get to the game, they can just tap a box? Like, I don't have to go talk to somebody, right? I just tap this box when I walk in and it registers me and I'm good. He was like, well, I'm just like throwing ideas at him, right? Like, so I'm sure your event is going to be, I think it's going to really expand what he could do with what's going on with that, with the system.
100%. So, yeah. What else we got? I mean, we touched a lot already. Is there any other questions you have in particular about?
I mean, as far as the event, man, like I'm still just kind of really blown away and how in depth and all this stuff's going to carry over, and the system you have going on is very cool. It's very cool. But yeah, you said earlier something about something that you and your brother did. So did you grow up with siblings? You got your brother, and then
Yep,
he's into airsoft.
He's actually the guy who kind of pointed me in the direction of airsoft. I mean, I had done a little bit myself, just running around in the woods with some buddies, and blasters or pistols we got from Tyson's or whatever. But he was really the one that kind of pointed me in the direction when we got a little bit older in terms of, okay, let's look at some like look at guns. Let's look at, spending a little bit of money on this stuff and like going to different fields and testing it out.
Yeah.
He doesn't do as much with it anymore. But he's somebody that, I continually still bounce ideas off of in terms of the event series and everything, because it was me and my brother growing up with my parents, but, as a brother who's 2 years older than you kind of latch on to a lot of things that they're doing and a lot of things that are being done.
Right.
So for us there, it was growing that relationship. And for us, we were always trying to kind of top each other's costumes for Halloween. And we'd always do, buddy costumes, whatever it was. So like our first adult Halloween, when we were both adults and old enough to drink or whatever, it was Mario and Luigi, before there were Mario and Luigi costumes that you could buy off the shelf. And, it was like, okay, cool, let's do this. And it was Bert and Ernie the next year. And then at our 10-year anniversaries, we kept, trying to outdo each other's costumes we were doing. We did Mario and Luigi again, but we did Firepower Mario or Firepower Luigi and Rainbow Power Mario. So his outfit was like tie-dye, but he had LEDs running through the whole thing that was attached to a little like plush star. So when he would turn that on, it would play, the and he would like light up like star power. And then like my Flame Power Luigi, I could literally shoot fireballs. I had like one of those like I had gotten one of those like magic kits that had like the flammable cotton or whatever.
No
so
way.
Like I was running around, shooting fireballs out of my hand.
Oh my God.
Out on Halloween. So like that's just a little bit of like, us doing the kind of costuming thing without like ever touching like the cons, because it's always been like let's just try to top ourselves and top our costumes and what we're doing.
Right.
So that all kind of tied in later with this aspect of doing the Airsoft Star Wars thing. So
yeah. Oh, that's cool, man. Okay. Hey, turn your camera off and then turn it back on. I think it locked on the.
Oh, gotcha.
It's like it's on your icon, like the camera's off, but mine's done that a couple times before, where people told me. There we go. So yeah, that's cool, man. Wow, what an interesting event you guys are putting on. I mean, it almost. So now, what has been since you started this? You guys have started this. Has there been anything that's like, oh no, what have I got myself into? Like, oh shit, we got to get all this stuff ready.
Yeah, we've all done a decent job at chipping in enough and pulling different weights and different aspects. I mean, there's always going to be a crunch. It's just kind of how deep of a hole you've dug yourself into, because we set our stuff 6 months out. So when we start talking about these events and doing these things, a lot of it is, okay, where are we at on this? What are you doing with this? Have we gotten anywhere with this? Have you talked to these people? Have you reached out to sponsors? Have you done posts or whatever? And I take a lot of the groundwork on a lot of like the social media or setting up the events and doing that kind of stuff, just because I'm kind of used to it, just from my life. And like I run a grocery store normally, so that's like my day job. And doing that, you kind of touch a lot of weird logistical things that change every day. So whether it's, I manage like 350 employees normally, and like events like this where you have a lot of like moving parts, it's very organic to me in terms of planning and like seeing a bigger picture and knowing what we kind of need to do to like make it work.
Yeah, tweaking on the fly, like changing things on the fly or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. So a lot of that is just for years of my normal existence and getting good at doing that. And then like for everybody else, everybody has that, oh God, it's 3 weeks away and I've got all of this I need to get done. So at that point, a lot of times we'll be like, okay, what do we absolutely positively want to get done for sure for this event? Let's focus. Focus on this. If the bottom 4 doesn't happen, nobody even needs to know. And that's the biggest thing when you're doing events like this is you might have this huge picture of things that you want to get done or do, but sometimes you just got to kind of cut off the bottom and just execute the top the best you can, because players aren't going to know those other 6 things that you wanted to do unless you are like specifically saying you're going to do them.
Talk about them forever. Yep.
And even that, most people are understanding. If you're like, hey, this, and this really aren't as fleshed out as we wanted it to be, so just bear with us as we like work on getting a better system in place for that going forward. And like 99.9% of the people understand that. So
of course, yeah, I totally understand how that works, because with doing these, well, just running a YouTube channel in general, you know, I'll have ideas. Like when I first started doing this podcast, if somebody goes back and watches some of maybe the first 6 months or whatever I was doing, there were some of them that I added in, like as we talked about, you know, if somebody that, you know, my guest, whatever, is talking about a certain thing, and maybe I didn't bring up like share the screen kind of stuff, whatever. And then later I thought, oh, that would be cool to add that in. Like I didn't tell the guest, hey, I'm going to add this in, but as I'm, you know, just ideas in my head as I'm starting to edit a little bit, I'm like, because I don't really edit these podcasts. I do. I have edited some parts out of it, like you know, somebody talked about something with his job that he didn't ask me to cut it out, but I thought it might be a negative effect on him.
Yeah.
And I mean, my whole point of doing this, or my goal of doing having a guest on here, is to promote them, to make them feel good, to make them, you know, to get their thing out that's good. So little things I've cut out. Like I've cut out, if I ramble too long on something, which in the past, I used to get pretty hammered on a few of these where somebody else is drinking, you know, and we're both drinking, and it's so like the first hour and a half is good, and then it just starts it goes in the fucking shitter. Like it's fun when you're both drunk, okay, or half drunk, but when you
when you play it back and you're like, ooh,
I'm editing it when I'm sober, I'm like, oh my god, okay, no, I'm not putting it out. So I have edited some. But I'll have these ideas like, oh, I want to add this, and I want to add, you know, some kind of banner here and promote this and then I'm going, man, I don't know. So it does change. I definitely understand how that is. I'm like, I have my list. Okay, what's the most important thing? And then I go down to, if I don't get around to putting this in, it's really not a big deal breaker. I mean, these podcasts especially too, because their majority of our traction is from audio. So all of the, you know, the Spotify, the iTunes, the whatever, Apple podcast stuff. So it's, you know, so the audio, I really want to be, that's the priority. You know, I want that to be good, or at least, you know, what do you call it? Listenable. I don't know, where it's not going to hurt your ears. It's not going to be too much background noise or whatever. So that's my goal. But yeah, I definitely understand that. So, well, it's good, man. You have this background in dealing with people, good communication, you know, handling a lot of things at once, thinking, you know, making changes on the fly, delegating, right? And so it probably runs pretty smoothly compared to work, because everyone that's involved with your project is super excited about it. You know, that's the one thing. Like I told somebody a while ago, I can't remember the topic of conversation. It was just like family or whatever, you know, I was talking with, and I said, yeah, I worked retail for a little bit. Most of my work history is like factory work and construction and stuff. And then, but I worked retail for a few years. I ran a GameStop, video game store, for 3 years. Yeah. And so, you know, and they were like, yeah, retail, you always have those people that, you know, call out. And I was like, you know, GameStop, like that was one of the things, like I did fast food, you know, when I was a teenager. And food service, you had call outs all the time, right? But video or GameStop, bro, nobody ever called out. They wanted to be there, even if it's just to, you know, swap out their game. Cause you know, you could kind of rent games, you know, like they take them home and try them out, new games. But, anyway, yeah, it was a very different environment, which I'm getting, you know, I guess it would be similar to what you guys are dealing with. Like everyone pretty much wants to chip in where they can to help out with this thing. So it's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
Right
Awesome,
on.
man.
Right on.
Bro, thank you so much, man. You came out. We just recently set this up, and you got the background going on. You got the freaking full gear. I mean, for real, bro. You got all this shit on. I really appreciate that. I really do, because I know it takes some time to get geared up.
I think it helps sell it. And I mean, the gearing on, I mean, it doesn't take too long these days. When I first, first started putting the stuff on and like trying to get the gear on, that might have taken like 30 minutes to like get your kit situated. But like now it's like a 10-minute quick. I devised
which
all
part
the
to put on first.
Yeah, you know what part to put on first, what part to dive into. I mean, it's stuff that I can all put on by myself very easily on the field, and if I needed to like take stuff off, it's very easy to do. Because that's part of the flexibility that I wanted with the system. Is I don't want to have like a patsy that has to like put on my back armor or put on my whatever. It might be nice to have one of those, what are the squires? If I had like my own little squire that followed me around and like could armor me up like the knights of old. But I was like, I got to be realistic. Like I'm going to be going out to a lot of these events, and like I need to like do it by myself. I need to be able to get it on by myself. So, but thank you again for having me on. I enjoyed talking about all the things because it was awesome. So
it's fun. Well, what I was going to say, tell everybody where they can find all your stuff online, and I'll put all these links in here as well.
So we have our Galactic Civil War Discord that will have that link tied in on there. We have www.galactic-civil-war.com, which is our website where you can see a bunch of photos and videos that we have linked. You'll also be able to find our different event info there when we get it posted here for Galactic Civil War. Battlefront Boulevard, as you can see in the back one there. We have the Galactic Airsoft Alliance, which is basically the group of the admins and everybody else who's kind of joined in on Facebook into that group to help promote and to grow that community that brings people into the events and helps people work on their armor. I mean, the real big thing with we didn't even talk about specific armor rule sets either. I mean, we didn't even touch on that. That's crazy. Maybe we can save that for a follow-up call or something.
Yeah, we should definitely do I love having people on a second time, because there are things we can't go over everything, right, when we talk with people. It is it goes off on tangents, and I talk too long sometimes. It just whatever. So but yeah, I always love to have people on again, especially, you got some, a few months, you got some time in between the event, have you on, a couple months before the event, go over some more details on that. That would be great. Awesome.
Yeah. The one big thing that I'll touch on before, I do the rest of the call outs is we really like to reward players who attempt to get themselves into the entire environment of the atmosphere. So if you're wearing like Stormtrooper armor, you're going to have a different ability. You're going to have a different perk, whether it's self-revive or a quicker self-revive timer by being fully kitted up, or if you have a cannon helmet on, that headshots don't count, and that's a rule that we're going to implement at the next one. So if you got a full Mandalorian bucket or Stormtrooper bucket, you can keep getting pelted in the head all you want. It's that trade-off because you're looking at, visibility in some of these things, not that good for a lot of them. And then, just having to have that helmet on when you're in combat is, pretty big detriment for, your situational awareness, because not everybody's going to have their hearing amplification or whatever built into their helmets. But for, everybody that's coming to the event and trying to look the part of, a character out of Star Wars, the rules really help make it easier for them to participate without being too, if I show up in like a full Stormtrooper outfit, we all know that you're going to be clanking around, be super white and visible in the woods. Like you got to get a little something out of doing that. So, Yeah, so that's kind of just to touch on that. But all of our rule sets you can find on the website. My stuff, 6mm Mandalorian. I've got YouTube. I've got Instagram. Go ahead, check those out. Follow those. They'll be in the huge novel of links you'll get at the end of
Yeah,
this to
for
get
sure.
plugged in. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, so those are the big ones right there. We do run our ticket system off of Eventbrite, but you'll see that come through on like the website and Discord and stuff if you jump in there.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, dude. It was really good meeting you. And yeah, good luck on your next event. We'll talk before then for sure.
Right on.
And yeah, man, maybe get a couple of your guys on here.
Yeah,
That you want to get on and talk about more of that event coming up.
awesome. Well, thank you.
Awesome. Thank
Thank you
you.
for having me, man.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
See ya.